Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Core Productions, my co-host Stacie here to talk about Earth Abides, Season 1, Episode 5, titled The Return. The episode's description reads as follows. Ish catches Charlie assaulting Evie. San Lupo must decide how to punish evil, but will Charlie and his people accept their judgment? The virus returns, Joey falls ill, and Ish feels humanity's future hanging in a balance. The episode was written by Todd Carmanacci, and who also served as the showrunner. And the episode was directed by Stephen Campanelli. He directed the final 2 episodes of this series. Before going any further, I'll tell you a couple things. One, this is not a spoiler-free podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend you go and check it out and then come back and give us a listen. Secondly, if you're listening on the platforms that this podcast is now available on, please follow. And feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Quorum Productions, where additional content can be discovered. If you're already on my YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to the channel. All right, so first of all, Merry Christmas to everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Yes. I know it's past now, but still, I haven't had a chance to say it, so there we go. And shout out to Sue Adams, who said, another awesome recap. This is why she watches drama podcasts. She was annoyed by the 4-year time jump, but we talked her through it. Thank you, and happy holidays. Well, thank you for that, Sue.
Awesome.
All right, so Stacie, your thoughts on episode 5.
All right, so this is a dark episode. The darkest of the season.
Yes, I would say so.
We thought episode 2 was kind of dark with the rats and the cow and all that stuff, but this kind of takes it to a new level.
I have a pretty big issue.
Okay.
In the fact that they took the subtlety of Charlie's character from the previous episode. You know, he was the charismatic guy who maybe had an ulterior motive and just kind of flipped him straight to dumb evil in this episode. Like, I don't understand the point of his actions towards Evie specifically. It was like, why antagonize all the leadership of this community and that you're planning on taking over in this fashion so that they get their backs up so that they are onto you. It seems like he just went straight to dumb in this episode.
Well, I think the point was that he thinks he can just take whatever he wants.
He's basically that arrogant.
And it's always worked for him before. You know, he's done this before with other communities, and
I'm not sure why it would have worked in the past.
And he underestimated them.
Yes,
This
very
group.
much so.
And he thought he's just going to be able to take out Ish, and everyone else is going to follow him. And he was ready to show his true colors.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, if this is how he acted previously, I'm not sure why the other communities just rolled over and died like they apparently did. Like, I'm not sure why Charlie won prior, because he all the smartness that he demonstrated in prior episodes, or in the prior episode, because he was only in one, he just kind of fails to demonstrate here. I don't know. I think they could have used. I guess the problem is they didn't really have enough time to really tell that story full out.
I mean, right. An episode and a half in this time is the longest we've spent anywhere in the series.
Right,
so they already spent a lot more time on it than any other moment of their story.
Still, I kind of would have preferred if they'd stuck a little bit more with the subtlety rather than kind of completely removing that.
Yeah, you know, I've seen a lot of people talk about the pacing of this series and saying, you know, they wish it would have been longer than 6 episodes.
And they could have.
I definitely think we could have fit this in a 10 episode, like full season arc.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's definitely parts that feel a little rushed. And then I also feel bad because there's still people out there who don't understand that this is a limited series and still think it's a first season and there's a lot more story coming.
Right. Did I say season 1 at the top?
You did.
I did,
You
as
did.
usual.
Every episode you have, but that's okay because you're consistent.
Right.
I mean, you're not technically wrong.
Right. Yeah. Season 1, season only. But yes. Yeah.
So the cast in episode 5, we've got the same exact cast as episode 4. No new faces this week, except we are missing a couple people. Christian, played by Isaiah Ramirez, is not credited in episode 5, and Rafe Rakatic is not in episode 5.
Right.
But they'll both return.
Yep.
In the next episode, it looks
like.
Yes,
they will.
So they're just not in this episode.
Oh, one thing I forgot to mention at the top. So this episode actually dropped last week. We did not realize that they were going to do that.
Yeah, we missed a memo, I guess, or something happened. There was no knowledge on our end that we were going to have a 2-episode drop.
Right.
Otherwise, we would have prepared 2 episodes.
Right. And so we would have had this episode drop last week. Instead, we're having it drop today. And the finale will drop at the same time that it always does. But yeah, that's why this is coming so late after that episode actually did drop. Because they dropped 2 episodes without really telling us that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Or maybe they did and we just didn't notice it.
I went back and I looked at our, like the file that I have all of our episode descriptions on.
Yeah.
And there was no dates. Like the first 3 or 4 episodes had dates, and then the last couple didn't have dates. So that's the place we would have noticed.
Right.
If it was there for us to notice, and it wasn't there.
Right.
So I don't know if as of the time that file was created, they hadn't decided what date they were putting them yet.
But yeah,
I'm assuming the reason that they MGM Plus decided to drop 2 episodes was because they wanted to finish it out before the end of the calendar year.
Yeah, makes sense.
And not make it, go into 2 different calendar years.
Right. All right. Do we have anything else to say before diving in?
I was right about how we were going to spend like another half an episode in this time, and then we were going to jump again. I was pretty spot on with that. Although it's a little more than half. We spent like 2/3 of the episode.
Right.
In the year 17, and then we moved forward. So.
All right.
We're at the end. We're at the end now, but I have the pacing figured out.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, all in all, I pretty much enjoyed this episode. I just kind of wish they had kept the subtlety from the previous episode going on a little bit longer, as opposed to just revealing him to be completely evil.
Right, but if they did that, they would have had to have, taken a whole episode to get to where they got to midway through.
Right. Yeah.
Because we had to convince the whole group of what was what.
Right.
Before we could move forward. So.
All right, so we begin with our intro. It's fire and lava, jellyfish in the ocean.
Yeah, it was like focusing on under the sea predators is what I came up with, meaning Charlie.
Ah, okay.
He brought them water, and now he's showing his predator side.
Gotcha. All right, so it's late that night. There's a party. Jorge and one of the people talk. I believe this is Corey that he's talking to.
Yes.
Emma watches happily. Ish watches from a distance as Charlie has his son dance with an older lady, which I think is Perry.
This is Penelope.
Penelope, okay. And Ish gets pissed and goes back inside the house. Emma talks to Perry, asking her what they'll do next. Perry says it's not up to her, it's up to Charlie. And Emma starts picking up on something here. But she's like, I didn't ask what, about Charlie. I asked what you were going to do. So I think she's starting to pick up on the fact that Charlie's not really good, and this is kind of like a cult-like situation here.
Right.
So Charlie signals something to his number 2 man, Silas, and we don't know what this is, but we will. Charlie makes a speech. Everyone starts chanting Charlie. Ish watches this. He's not happy. And Emma is starting to catch on that something's weird here.
Yeah.
But you can see her expression, and it's not a happy one. Ish watches from his balcony late at night when everyone's gone to sleep. And then he hears some noises, and we hear a woman, like, basically screaming. And Ish notices Silas standing outside near Evie's room, and out comes Charlie. Ish is like, "What the fuck, Charlie?" And Charlie says, "Good old Ish, smarter than he looks, dumber than he knows," as he walks away. Ish runs to Evie's room, who is in bad shape, and we don't actually see what happened to her. Silas asks Charlie, "So tomorrow?" And Charlie confirms, tomorrow. At the clinic, Molly talks to Maureen, and it's pretty clear what happened. Evie was basically Me Too'd, if you will. Ish and Co. get together to discuss what to do. Gina's right on board with Charlie being evil. And, we kind of noticed that from the last episode that Jean was already pretty much there. Emma apologizes to Ish for being right. And, Ish takes the high road here. He doesn't say, "I told you so." He's basically like, "Well, I guessed," when it's pretty obvious that he was right.
Yeah, I think he was acknowledging, well, you're right, too. Like, I've always been suspicious of everybody.
Right.
I just happened to be right this time.
Right.
I think he's maybe surprised that he was as right as he was.
Right. So, Jorge suggests driving him away. Just putting him in a car somewhere and driving him out somewhere. Exiling him. Emma says that he'll come back. Molly suggests a prison. And Ezra thinks that a prison built for one is a prison for them all. And then Emma basically suggests murder.
Yeah.
Ish is right on board with this idea. Almost no one else is, at least not immediately.
Yeah, Molly, Jorge, and Jean were all very against it
Right.
at first.
So they take a vote, and Ish insists that it has to be a voice vote, and it has to be unanimous. Jean is pretty quick to vote yes, and then Molly. Ezra is more reluctant, but eventually agrees to do so as well. Molly votes yes. I think I already said that, but yeah. Jorge wants to say no, and he's pretty much... Well, actually, I think that's supposed to be Maureen votes yes. But yeah, Jorge wants to say no. He's like, no, it's no for me. And everyone's like, no, you have to vote yes. Like,
Yeah, Maureen pretty much begs him and is
Yeah.
like, that's our little girl.
right.
Like,
It is...
we have to take care of the problem.
It is interesting to me that he is the dissenter when, like you just said, it is his girl. But yeah, he's totally against just straight up murdering this dude.
Right.
And I'm not... What do you think is the right call here?
I mean, I think they came to this conclusion a little too quickly.
Right. They just jumped
I mean,
ship.
maybe we should have, I don't know, spent a little more time trying to figure this out.
Right.
Maybe we should have confronted him,
Mm-hmm.
confronted the group, felt out the whole situation, and not just like, well, we have to do this right now.
So I kind of think that's what they decide to do, because we never actually hear Jorge say yes.
He never did say yes, and
Yeah.
I do have a note of that. Like, they said it had to be unanimous. He was no.
Yeah.
Maureen begs him, and then the very next scene is they're all just going to approach Charlie.
Right.
Including Jorge, though. He's right along with the group, holding
Right.
a gun. So, was that him reluctantly saying yes, or I don't know.
Well, I don't know, because Ish says that they need to dig a grave for Charlie first, and I was kind of wondering if maybe this is Ish's way of saying that they were going to give him a chance to make a decision for himself whether they were going to kill him or not. Like, you can like choose to leave, or we will
Right.
kill
Well,
you.
that is what he says to him.
Yes.
He's like, hey, we're asking you to leave.
So maybe Ish kind of changes the...
But would they actually have let him left? We don't know.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So Ish goes to Charlie's house. He knocks
The trailer.
the trailer. He knocks his hammer on the door. That's the one that Jorge gave him. And Charlie comes out and says, Lupo stands for wolf. And I looked that up. And it actually does stand for wolf.
Yeah, Lupo is Italian for wolf.
Hmm.
So San Lupo means Saint Wolf.
Yep.
He says to Ish that Ish is the saint and he is the wolf. And they all know the saints die first.
Right. And he goes on to insult Ish some more, act all arrogant. Ish says the password, San Lupo, and everybody comes out from the shadows, a few of them with guns, and one of them, of course, being Jorge. And then none of these people with the guns matter, because Ish basically just straight hammers him to death.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny that he even has the strength to do that, because, they made a
Right.
point of saying that
he's
not what
kinda
he used to
weak.
be. Yeah.
And I guess it goes to show like how much detest he's feeling for Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
Like that he's able to summon this strength.
That makes sense.
But yeah, they had a really not great exchange, right?
Right.
Before Ish finally did it.
Mhm.
Basically, he was because so Ish asked him to leave first,
Right.
And again, we don't know if this could have gone differently if Charlie just was like, "Hey, I'll leave." Maybe. I mean, they would maybe see if he would just go peacefully, maybe.
Right.
But he wasn't going to do that. He says, the only way I'm going to leave is in 50 years when your wife gives my eulogy saying how much she loves me.
Right.
So basically, he's just like, no, you're the one that's going to leave, and I'm taking over your life.
Right.
Which is what, we felt like last week. I know I said at least that it seemed like Ish was maybe feeling a little jealous, like Charlie was taking over. And that's exactly what Charlie planned on doing, was literally taking over his entire life, raising his kids.
Yes. It's interesting, though, that he does not seem to have any other weapons besides a knife.
Yeah, he says like, oh, you brought your family to a knife fight.
Right.
Like, you're the only one with a knife, Charlie.
Right, yes.
We got guns.
Right. So, I don't understand what they were thinking they were going to do. Like, kill them in their sleep or something? Or like, we got knives, we're going to stab you. Well, we got guns, we can shoot you.
Right.
I don't understand.
They really thought that
They were this arrogant?
he planned on getting rid of Ish, and whether that meant killing him or exiling him,
Right.
I don't know. But he thought he was taking over the community.
Gotcha.
And the whole community would just be his followers.
Gotcha.
No question asked.
Wow.
Now, which interestingly enough is kind of what happens in the other direction.
Yes.
So my note at this point is like, why are our people here not questioning how the other people in Charlie's group are going to react to this?
Yes.
Are they prepared to kill all of them if they fight back?
Well, that's the thing, is that's a consideration that is never brought up.
Right.
Like, in that meeting, they are only talking about Charlie. They're not talking about how they're going to deal with the rest of them.
Right. They're like, we have to kill him. Okay,
Right.
But he's got like 15 other people with him.
Right. Yeah. So, after this, Ish gets the blood off his weapon. He's in the bathroom cleaning off his hammer. He says to Emma he's cleaned the blood with the water that Charlie helped him found. So Ish is clearly getting a pang of conscience.
It's already hitting
Yeah.
him. Like, I just killed somebody.
Right, yeah.
And maybe he was that. You know, why didn't anybody help him? They were all there. They let him do the entire thing by himself.
Right, yeah.
I mean, and he did it. He didn't need the backup, but maybe like somebody should have, I don't know, helped bear that responsibility.
No, they just put it all on Ish's shoulders. And
Especially,
all their consciences are basically clean. because they
Especially
didn't do
Emma,
it.
whose
Yeah.
idea it was in the first place to do
Yeah.
this.
Yes.
Like, maybe just step in and help a little bit.
Right.
So that he doesn't have to be the one, the sole person to be like, I did this.
Right. And he asks, who do you ask for forgiveness for this? And Emma says, for this, nothing. No one. Basically, she thinks that his hands are clean as far as she's concerned.
She says because he was like, what debt do I have to pay? She
Right.
says there's always a debt, but not always forgiveness. So basically, like, you have to just forgive yourself. There isn't anybody who can forgive you. But also she thinks that, you know, living with that is something you just have, that is the debt you have to pay.
Gotcha. So Joey finds him and asks, what's going on? And Ish ends up putting him to bed. The next morning, Perry, who's back in Maureen and Jorge's house, I'm thinking?
She was with Ezra, Jean, and Molly.
Okay.
So she was in their house. And right before we see that, actually, we see a shot. I didn't catch this until my second time watching it. We see a shot of the ocean.
Yeah.
With blood.
Yes, yeah.
Like on the shore, kind of indicating that they buried the body at sea.
Yes.
They got rid of him that way.
So Perry wants to go back to Charlie's, but the girls explain that he's gone. And it takes a while, but she eventually catches on to the fact that Charlie isn't back dead.
Yeah, and I find it really funny. So we spend the next few scenes like telling people, like, hey, we killed him.
Yeah.
But never do they actually say those words. Every
Right.
single time they're just like, no, he's gone. I mean, he's gone.
I'll get to this, but the point where that really pissed me off is when Ish was talking to his son about the situation.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that scene in a bit. But yeah, so she's like, do I need to leave? Or are you going to kill me too?
Right. She was like, what does that mean for me? Right. Like,
Right.
As soon as she realized what they meant, she was like, do we have to go?
Right.
And they're like, no, you're welcome here.
Right. This is the place that you can feel safe. This is a place where you no longer have to be afraid. And Perry laughs, and, it's funny because she does not shed one single tear for Charlie. It's very clear that she doesn't really have any actual feelings for him.
Yeah, she said she used to think she loved him, but she really knew that she hated him. In other words, yes, he was a cult leader. He was a little bit of a Negan.
Right.
Even though we don't never see him actually, like, killing people, we definitely get the impression that she didn't choose to be with him.
Right, yeah. So the rest of the people get off the bus, getting ready for work. This would include Silas and Corey that we see specifically. They ask for Charlie, and Emma is vague, saying Charlie is gone, and she points a gun at them. Ish comes out, and Ezra does with more guns, and they give him a choice. Stay with them or leave with Silas. Now, this is interesting language. They're not giving Silas a chance to stay here.
Right. They've decided Silas has to go.
Yeah.
And they also decided, apparently, off camera, that everyone else is welcome to stay if they want to.
Right.
There was no, like, picking and choosing who we want to leave, who we want to stay. There was no individual conversations with them. They're just like, everybody's free to stay except Silas.
I mean, from their perspective, Silas was basically Charlie's number 2.
Sure.
And he was instrumental in what happened to Edie.
He literally kept watch, and Ish witnessed that.
Yeah.
But they don't know
if the rest are good or bad. Or...
Right. They don't know if Corey's also, like, fully on board with this. They don't know. And, I mean, there's a dozen, people that we don't even have names for. We don't know their parts in any of this.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of women who I think they're assuming are more innocent, but you don't know that for sure.
Right.
And there were a couple other men in the background, too, that we, like, don't even acknowledge or question if they're going to come and, defend Charlie.
Right. Corey says that maybe him leaving was for the best. Just because he always won doesn't mean he always would. And Silas is told to leave, and he does so. He's pissed no one is coming to his defense, though. Silas angrily marches to his truck and prepares to leave. And after he does so, Ish talks to his son. This is where Ish kind of pisses me off a little bit.
He's talking to Alex.
Alex, that's what I meant to say. Yeah, no, I didn't even name the son. Yeah, but anyway. So he's asking about Charlie, who he clearly had some type of attachment to.
Right.
And like I said, Ish pisses me off here by being so vague. Like, tell your son what the hell happened. Like, tell him what he did to Evie. He's old enough to understand this. He's not 2 years old.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even matter because it's a new world. You can't act like...
He's basically like, oh, well, he had to go because he thought he could just take what he wanted.
And he was also like, oh, he took something from Evie that could never be returned. Well, what is that exactly? That is such a vague statement.
Right.
Why do you need to kill this dude? Like, tell your son the truth.
Right.
And it pisses me off that he doesn't do that.
Alex is... How old is Alex at this
old
point?
Enough.
We're in year 17. Alex is 14.
Mm-hmm.
And in this world, that's, might as well be an adult.
Yeah, might as well be. So, eventually, Alex catches on to what happened. At least as far as what they did to Charlie. No explanation from his dad why that was necessary. And I think it should have just straight up told him, like, this is what happened to Evie. We had to get rid of this guy.
Yeah, he was
straight up and simple.
He was a threat.
Yes. And Alex is basically like, you didn't teach me that in school. And then walks away, clearly pissed off, but he's not going to say anything else about the situation. So, Silas comes back.
Yeah, after being gone for just like a minute.
Yeah.
He drives back up.
He's like, hey, look, man, I have nowhere else to go. Poor me. I'm going to die out there. And, it almost seems like Ish is tempted to let this guy back in.
He explains. He's like,
right.
He tells him Charlie's plan. He's like, Charlie was going to run you out or worse. And he says, this is what he did to all of us.
Right.
Meaning this whole entire group is all people that are survivors from Charlie's past takeovers.
I'm kind of curious. So basically, we don't really know why he even left those other communities.
Right.
Did
they just run out of resources?
Yeah, and then he moved on, or...
I don't know, but these are the people he's collected along the way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Basically, that's what Silas is saying. And he's kind of like, I wasn't really on his side. I was just, I was his victim too.
Right.
But it reminds him like, well, you were standing guard when Evie was screaming and I didn't see you helping her.
Right.
So that pretty much, drew his fate.
So, what do you think was the right thing to do in this particular situation?
It's so hard to say, right? I mean, we were so quick to let everybody else stay without any question.
Right.
And again, like, I see why they want Silas gone.
Mm.
But at the same time, we're not concerned about anybody else being a threat.
Right.
I don't know. If they let Silas stay, maybe he would have rolled over and, followed Ish the same way he followed Charlie and behaved himself because he knew he didn't have anywhere else to go.
Or maybe he would have, slit their throats in their sleep.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or you know what? Maybe they should have killed him too. I don't know.
I mean...
Where do you draw the lines when you're the ones deciding, capital punishment?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm. Yeah, it's tough, interesting questions, and I do appreciate that the episode raised them.
Right.
So.
But in the end, Ish tells Silas, be on your way. Like, yes. You're not welcome here.
Right. And we skip right away to year 20. Joey is playing, looking at a tree. Oh, so he's playing, and then he looks up at a tree, and then ends up climbing it, which leads to Ish announcing Joey's project. Joey has built a solar-powered plane, and Joey wants to go and find Heather and Rafe and see what they built out there.
Yeah, so it's been 3 years. Heather and Rafe have not returned home.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's remember, they were supposed to come home before winter.
Right.
Of the year they left.
Mm-hmm.
They've been gone for 3 years.
Right. It was kind of predictable that that was going to end up happening.
But the group still seems pretty optimistic that they're out there.
Right.
To the point where Joey's like, yeah, we're going to go see what they've built in the world.
How do you know that they didn't just run into Charlie and then Charlie just killed them?
I mean, I would have assumed that something killed them after 3 years.
Right, yeah.
Like, they fell off a cliff or got eaten by a mountain lion or grizzly bear or drowned or... I don't know, a lot of deadly things out there.
Right.
3 years is an awful long time to just not come home when they were supposed to come home within like 6 months.
Right. Yeah.
So I would expect them to already just be grieving them and assume they're dead.
Right.
But no, we're holding out hope, and Joey wants to go see what they're up to.
Right. Oh, look, I see their dead bodies. Nice. Anyway. So Emma talks to Ish, and he's like, wow, you knew all along that Joey was going to be this. And Ish is basically like, yep, I knew all along that he was going to be what he turned out to be. And we see Alex in the background.
Yeah, Alex is always just like, he's got that middle child syndrome.
Yeah, he definitely does.
He's very jealous.
We don't even see him in focus. That's how irrelevant he is.
He's very jealous of Joey, and he knows Joey's super smart, and he doesn't feel great about this.
Yeah.
Heather is the golden child, and Joey's the smart child, and he's just there. And he, maybe he wishes Charlie was still there.
So they have a party, everyone eats and laughs together, and then we see Ish reading to Joey, who starts to get cold and has a slight fever. And this turns out to be a bigger deal than they initially think. So they end up taking him to Molly. Molly thinks that this is the virus that is moving faster.
And Molly's also currently treating Corey, who's dealing with the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And it soon becomes apparent that this illness is spreading. Ish thinks it's been years, it couldn't be the same thing, but it pretty much seems to be the exact same virus.
Yeah, she tells him, you weren't there the first time. You didn't, you weren't around until the aftermath. You didn't see how it happens. And she's like, I was there firsthand, and this is exactly the same. Except now, it's also affecting people who survived the first time. Like, Joey wasn't around the first time, but Corey was, and he's sick.
Right. So Maureen and Evie help out at the clinic along with Jean. Ish takes care of Joey and has a flash of Charlie as he does so. Emma brings them food, waking Ish up. And Emma asks, maybe the virus got Heather and Rafe. Ish doesn't want to believe that, though, anything could have happened to them, as you pointed out.
3 years.
Right.
I would have expected they'd be long gone before the virus.
Right. Alex asks if Joey's going to be okay, and then asks his dad if this was me. And the implication seems to be that Alex is asking, if this was me, would you even care this much? He doesn't outright say that.
Right.
But that's
and
what
also,
he implies.
Ish doesn't give a convincing answer.
Right.
He really needed to say something very reassuring to his son in this moment, and he doesn't.
No. He basically just reinforces Alex's, feelings, which is not the way to go. So Heather returns to Ish.
Yeah, she came back. She's alive.
Yay. She's crying because she's been alone because Rafe is gone, and we don't know exactly what happened to him, but we will find out the answer to that in the next and final episode. So Heather lies down next to her sick brother and says she came back to do the secret handshake. Joey says they don't have one. Heather says that's how secret it is.
Yeah, which is a callback to when she was leaving. He recited all those same lines to her.
Right.
And I feel like in this feverish moment, he doesn't even remember that, which is why he's really confused.
Right. Ish is at a loss for how to help his son. He drives into the old city to find an old hospital. I'm assuming this is the one that they raided a long time ago.
No. So this is the first time. He remember the bridge was
oh, yeah.
The bridge is
blocked off?
Yeah, there's a barricade on the bridge. This was the bridge into, where are we, San Francisco?
Yes.
One of the cities down there.
Right.
So they haven't been into the city proper. Before that they were in Berkeley, which is, where their community is. That was the local hospital. Now he's going to the big city hospital. Right. He's going somewhere they haven't been before. He can't get a car there. He's driving a bicycle there because that was the only way he could get over the bridge.
Right.
So he drives his bicycle there, and we get to see the city, which is much more overgrown and crazy looking than when we saw the town before.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So he breaks into several places looking for drugs. He sees Charlie, an image of him, and he angrily tells him that he's not going to get his son. Now, we get the insinuation that perhaps this virus is a result of what they did to Charlie. Or at least that's perhaps what Ish is thinking, that this is his penance.
So he stops in the hospital chapel. And he's praying for the madness to stop. And he asks to be taken instead of Joey or the other children. But in the monologues that he's giving during this final scene, he's basically saying, I had questioned the night that I killed Charlie what the price was going to be, and I didn't realize the price was going to be my son. So yeah, he thinks that, I wouldn't say that the virus is back because of what he did, but that he's facing losing his son as punishment for what he did. Like, he's questioning religion right now. Is what he's doing, like to stop in the chapel. And we've seen him before, like in episode 1 or 2? He was reading the Bible.
Yes.
And I think there was some comment about like how his parents were religious, but he wasn't. And he never really had a place for religion in his life, and he questioned like how that fits in.
So there were conversations that I saw about this episode with some people suggesting that this whole talking to God thing was totally out of character for Ish. And I think you just laid out the case that it's not totally out of character, that there was a little bit of this in him.
Yeah, I think we've seen him questioning religion before. He didn't have religion in his past life, but I think we've definitely seen him questioning its place.
Right. And not to mention, this is a desperate man. He's willing to try anything at this point. Even something that he considers irrationality.
Right.
So this is him.
He's very desperate, and he wants to do whatever he can.
Right.
Even was it Charlie who had a conversation with him? Somebody in the last episode, but I think it was Charlie. They mentioned religion, and he goes, "Oh, you don't believe, but you're hedging your bets anyways." I like that. Like there was something like, I'm not religious, but
I do remember that conversation.
I'm not religious, but I'm still gonna pray or whatever was happening in the scene.
Yes, yeah, I do remember that conversation. Yeah, and basically, the next thing we see is Ish running through the halls of the hospital dramatically. For what reason, I don't know. I'm actually even surprised he's capable of doing that.
He's in a hurry to get back to bring the medicine that he found here. He came here looking for medicine. He packed his bag full of something, and he's in a hurry to bring it home.
And that is where the episode ends.
That's it.
And that leads into the finale. So
next time, the story will conclude on this limited series.
Yep. And that will be all she wrote. Do we have any further thoughts before concluding this particular podcast?
I don't think I do.
Okay. All right. So we'd like to hear from you. What'd you think of this podcast? What'd you think of this episode? Stacie can be reached at.
I can be reached on Twitter, X, Instagram, and Threads at TVN Coupon Talk.
If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can join one of my Core Productions Facebook pages. You can buy something from the Core Productions or on Zazzle. You can buy me a copy. You can join the Core Productions membership for 99 cents a month. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video as well as subscribing to the channel. This is Dave and Stacie from Core Productions, signing off.